So now we're going to move down and practice filling in all three of these. So the first one we're going to focus on is the leaf. For the leaf, on the left half, we're going to be using hatching, and on the right half, we're going to be using something called varied hatching, which we'll look at. With hatching, we're going to be making our lines going all the way from the middle of the leaf towards the outside. So these are going to be moving all the way down, starting with light at the top, fading into a darker value. So we're going to go ahead and fill this in, following that light to dark value. And the whole time that this is getting filled in, I'm looking at my value scales because I do want to match the lightest area with this first square and the darkest area with this square. So it should go from being completely white to completely black and having all of those midtones in the middle. So I'm going to start shading this in. And again, we're using hatching, going from one end of the leaf to the outside. So this is my light side. So I'm going to really make sure that I'm overlapping my lines. They're a lot closer together as I'm etching those in. And then I'm just slowly starting to fade those out as I get towards my medium tones. So down here is going to be my medium tones. And I'm also following the direction of the arrows. So looking at this reference picture, the arrows are pointing out this way. With hatching, it's very important to create form with your line. The lines that you're using with hatching can either flatten out an image or they can make it feel more three-dimensional. So we want to use the direction of our lines to really make your artwork feel more three-dimensional. So I'm going to leave this area at the bottom black, and I'm going to do a second coating now. So I need to really create that smooth transition here. So think of this more like a gradient. We're going from this area that is completely white and then starting to blend that out into more of the midtone. Now, like I said before, layers are very important, so take your time as you're working, starting with just those highlights, the lightest area, and slowly building those up, making sure that you still have those areas that are completely black as you're working. But next, I'm going to move on to the right half of the leaf. So on this half, we're going to be using varied hatching, which means instead of making our lines going all the way from one side to the other, they're going to vary in length. So as I'm working, I'm going to flip this because it's going to help me to create those different length lines. I'm going to be doing the same thing where I'm going from light to dark, and I'm following the curve or the contour of the leaf with my line so that it doesn't get flattened out. So again, I'm not drawing my lines vertical or horizontal going this way, but I'm trying to curve them like this, and that's going to create more of the form of the leaf here. So this curve right here is the same curve that I'm going to try to make all the way down my leaf as I'm working. So at the varied hatching, again, these lines are not going all the way from one end to the next. So you could do this a couple of ways. You could kind of work in rows where you're starting just in the middle of the leaf, drawing your lines going all the way down, starting to slowly fade those, and then building in more small layers as you go, starting to spread those out, and then working from the bottom here and bringing these down. Or you could work in one area and just shift down as you go across the whole leaf. So the other option again is filling in your full highlight first, starting to fade it, but also coming back up and layering things as you're going. So this will give a different sort of texture, having these varied lines, which means the different lengths to them. So there's my varied hatching versus the regular hatching on this side. So think about as you're working which of these two styles you like the best, or do you like both and you plan to incorporate both into your final project in different ways?